have arrived.
And we have arrived. Welcome to Awaken Your Human Design. My name is Moni. This is my wonderful co-host, Danny, and we have an exciting show for you tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. We're delving into a thing that's just not quite the norm. We're not going to do this for your human design reading or any analysis, mostly. So I hope you like it.
Absolutely. We're going to be deep diving. We're beginning our deep dive into the I Ching, and we're going to start off with the hexagrams and the mechanical development of the 6 lines, right? Your first line, your second line, 6th line, 5th line, all these. Where does this come from? How do these develop? So we're going to be talking about that in a structural capacity. So it's going to be pretty exciting.
Absolutely, and I'll be doing my best to actually relate when we get to just a line, as we're talking about a line, to sort of just bring into evolutionarily sort of where we started, like the progression of the determinations. Right, the caveman was way back, and the your determination, Moni, is the newest one.
We'll get into it. It'll be really exciting. And before we dive in, thank you for watching and for liking and subscribing. It really helps us. And let's get into it. So first off, we're going to just give you a little bit of breakdown on the I Ching. So this is rooted in the legendary insights of Fuxi, who's like a mythological cultural hero in ancient China. We'll be getting deeper into that in the next segment. So hold tight. And the I Ching begins with the creation of the 8 trigrams, evolving from a single yin-yang line into 3-line symbols, as encapsulating the universe's fundamental forces. And we'll explore step by step from the first line to the 3rd line before showing how these trigrams stack to form the 64 hexagrams, unlocking a deeper map of life's complexities, revealing their profound connection to human design and the patterns within our genetic code.
And they are connected. They're deeply connected. Again, they read this stuff thousands of years ago, and thousands of years later, they were right.
Yeah, they were definitely touching onto something of a greater pattern, like a greater absolute truth that exists all around us.
Indeed, and within us too. It's nice.
Absolutely. So here we have the yin-yang, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with this symbol. And it was new to me to find out that the official name for the yin-yang symbol is actually a tajitu, which means diagram of the supreme being. And so this concept is deeply rooted in ancient Chinese philosophy and cosmology, especially Taoism. And it reflects a worldview centered on balance, harmony, and the interplay of opposites. And the earliest Chinese thought about this was around 1200 BC or earlier in the Shang dynasty. And so the Taji is the concept of the supreme ultimate, right? Like the universe, God, the all that is, like the source of all. And the symbol dates back to the Warring States period between 475 and 221 BC. And then Tajitu is the actual name of this symbol. So the name that they came up with it as Tajitu dates back to the Song dynasty, dating 960 to 1279 AD. And so this symbol, this concept, represents 2 complementary forces in the universe. From the infinite void, the Wuji, emerges the Taji, which is the supreme ultimate. And so within the symbol, you can see the yin is the darkness. It represents femininity, receptivity, and earth. And it ranges the spectrum from creativity to chaos. And then the yang represents the light, masculinity, activity, and heaven. And it ranges from order to tyranny. So within the darkness, there's a little bit of light. Within the light, there's a little bit of darkness. And it acts as this balancing act.
For anyone old enough, that's just like that commercial with 2 great tastes that go great together, right? You got a little chocolate in my peanut butter.
Yeah, a little peanut butter in my chocolate. Yeah, that's the yin yang. That's exactly it. So now we're going to start breaking down and building up the symbol. So here you have the yin yang. And the yin is represented by a broken line and the yang by a solid line. And so the yin is the feminine, where the yang is masculine. And within like a binary code, yin would be the 0, the yang would be the 1. And if you want to think of it like electromagnetically, then the feminine is the minus sign, which is the magnetic. And then the yang, the masculine, is the plus side, which is the electric. So if you think of a battery, like a little AA, you got the little pointy nub bit that sticks out with the plus sign because that's pushing out electricity, whereas that flat side goes in a little bit because it's acting as a magnet, and it's receiving and it's pulling it in. And when you put a battery in the wrong way, it's not going to work. But when you put it in properly and the electricity and the magnetism is creating that circuit, you have power.
I'm glad you used electricity, because it's worth noting that the electron, while it's been demonstrated that it doesn't quite move through the one electron doesn't move its own self through the whole process to the end of the wire, but they are all moving. They're all bumping into each other. It's basically the electrons that do all the movement.
Oh,
that do all the energy movement, the movement that makes the thing happen. Yep.
That's really
figures. Mother's always got to do the chores.
So continuing on as we're building up our 3 lines and ultimately our 6-line hexagrams. So what we're just going to do here is we're just going to double up each side. So that singular yin broken line, we're just going to duplicate it on each side. So now we have 2 of them, and the same thing with the yang. We had the single yang and we've just duplicated it to have 2 yang underneath. So we're eventually going to have 4 building up. So what we're going to do now is just take another yin and a yang, a broken and a solid line over that original duplication of the yin. So now we just went from the 1 yin into 2 versions of it. And same thing here on the yang side, where we have the first line double yang. And now we're just going to put another broken and solid line up here. So we've just went from the 0, the supreme ultimate, into the foundational yin yang line, into the second line, and now there's 4 of them.
Yeah, this is the ultimate, for anybody who knows anything about genetics, this is the ultimate base pair. And the reason it's so, back into human design, the base pair is the starting pair for each quarter around the wheel. Yep.
Yeah. So if you ever see, there's the 4 quarters of the human design body graph, and it's like the realm of Alcyone and Dubhe and Jupiter and Sirius. If you look just in that second row out, that's what you see. And so this is what that's referring to. So I believe the double yin is Dubhe, the yang over the yin is Jupiter, and then the yin over the yang is Alcyone, and then the double yang is Sirius, for my other nerds out there.
And it's worth noting that in our genome, whenever they're hunting for something, they can't know anything, no matter what they find, until they've identified that particular species' base pair. And there's only 4 choices on planet Earth. And look, there's only 4 choices here, even though it does, when we get to the trigram, we get to more, obviously. But
yeah, is that like the ACT?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get that towards the end. That's interesting.
Well, not quite. The base pair is the layering of a yin and a yang, or a 1 and a 0. It's just amazing how much everything copies this. Our electricity copies it. Our computer code, which we had to figure out to put onto a CD-ROM somehow, that does it too. So even when we're not knowing it, we're still copying ourselves.
Yeah, I feel like that just speaks to the absolute truth within the pattern, within our programming. So it's like we're able to find things that speak to that because that absolute truth exists.
Damn straight. Yep.
Fantastic. So we're going to continue on, and we're going to go from our 1 to the 2, and now we're going to start developing our 3rd line structures. So this is really fun. So here we're just going to take that double yin base pair, and we're just going to duplicate it. So now we have 2 double yins at the bottom, and we're going to continue that throughout. So here we have the yin with the yang on top, where now we have 2 of them. We just duplicated it. Same thing here with the yang and then the yin on top. We duplicated it. And now we have the double yang duplicated as well. So now we have the foundational 2 lines of our 8 trigrams. And just like we did above, we're just going to start stacking another yin and another yang on top of each pair. So here we have the triple yin lines, and then the yin with the yang on top. And same thing, we're going to put another yin and yang on top.
And notice this is repeating.
Yeah, this is just
the beauty of it all. It's going to be yin yang, yin yang, yin yang.
It's just the same thing. Like once you understand the base concept, and you don't look at it all at once because that's super overwhelming. But it just like, that's why I really wanted to make this video, to stack it out and
Yeah.
really explain it, of like, it looks really complicated, but it's not. It's just a pattern progressing of duplication and another yin and a yang expression on top of each one. So continuing on, same thing, another yin and a yang, and then finally another final yin and yang on the last double yang pairing. And so now we have our 8 trigrams, which the triple yin is earth, then it goes to mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake, and heaven, from the most yin to the most yang, and then all together we have our 8 trigrams.
So this is really cool because in a lot of the ancient knowledge, I imagine it was boiled down, condensed, or in some cases maybe even dumbed down a little bit. But right, I remember earth, fire, water, air, and it would stop there.
Yeah, it's very Captain Planet.
Okay. Yeah. And when in reality, it's earth, mountain, water, wind, thunder, fire, lake, heaven. It's more.
It depends how many they like express it out to. If you're talking about like the I Ching and the trigrams, then it's going to go into these 8. But if you just looked at like 4 and 4, then you can look at those pairings. Or there's even like with the Chinese, there's like a 5-1 where there's like metal. So I think it just depends the modality and lens that you're looking through.
And also what we are looking at, these are the building blocks of life, because all they can do is repeat on the upper trigram when you stack up a whole hexagram. Same thing in genetics. They named it the upper and lower tripid before Human Design ever got published. So it's just so funny how these things line right up.
Yeah, it's all speaking to the same stuff. Oh, and this is what I think is very interesting as well, because in Human Design, you're talking about the 3rd line, and when somebody has a 3rd line profile, then we bump into the world. We're like bumping into like the physicality of the world. And I find it very interesting that as our trigrams, they have their 3 lines, and these are all very material, earth, physical world around you: earth, mountain, water, wind. Like, it's all these things that are now being bumped into. It's like the actual physical world that you're bumping into.
With one exception, heaven. You're right.
Yeah, heaven is
the
spark from above, though. So it's still, even if we're not there, like where does the earth begin and
but
the
it's
air?
not the earthly thing. It's not the water your plants from the lake, keep yourself warm with the fire, entertain yourself with the thunder. It's not.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. But it's like you're still affected by the sun. Like the sun is still bumping into you in a sense. So it's like it's still there.
I'm thinking heaven is the representation of the sun. And in fact, of course it is, because it's all yang. So that would be the sun and the earth. And okay.
Yeah.
I'm learning too, by the way. So that's why I'm butting in. And
yeah, I figured that's why it was going to be really fun. I was like, I'm just going to come up with this presentation, and Danny and I are going to nerd out for a little bit. Cool. So ready to move on?
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to talk about how we actually get to the 6 lines, right? Because we have the 3 lines of the trigrams. So how does this now go from a trigram to a hexagram? So for our example, we have the triple yin, which is the trigram of earth. And then we're going to take the triple yang, which is heaven, and we're going to now stack them on top of each other. So now you have earth, triple yin, and then you have heaven, which is triple yang. And when you stack them on top of one another, now you have a hexagram, which is 6 lines that represents gate 11.
Wow, that's gate 11.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And in my mind, I am reading heaven as sun, but we want to keep it to the text that we're looking at. So I get it.
Yeah, it's the spark of creativity. It is the beyond the human in that sense. But
the light. It's the light.
Yeah. So this is how you go from the 3-line trigram to the 6-line hexagram. You're just stacking it on top of one another. So same when we do our transits every week, when we say, earth over heaven, and then you're talking about gate 11, and it's got this pretty picture talking about this imagery. This is what it's referring to.
Mm-hmm. I love this display. By the way, it shows everything. It really does. And the whole reason to stack them is because so I'm not sure, egg, chicken and egg. Okay. So to me, God gave us the stuff. And so we're sort of, in a way, the center of certain of things, sort of. I can say that a little bit. And And we have to get to this whole stacking because a trigram does not make the life. You need the whole hexagram, two trigrams coming together. Actually, what does that sound like? That sounds like a holy union. You need the union of the two. Mother and father, of course it is. Yeah, you need them both. So mother and father in this hierarchy never stops. If we started adding these on top of each other, we would still have an ultimate breakdown that was mother, father, yin, yang, heaven, earth,
Yeah.
sun,
Masculine,
earth, sun.
feminine,
Yep, yep.
like electric, magnetic. Right?
Hmm.
And it's the thing too, like at our very base, I mean, it's like if you're looking at like the sperm and the egg, like the sperm is electric. It is just going in a straight line. It is pure yang moving in a straight line, focused on the one place that it's going. Whereas the egg isn't chasing. The egg is just like hanging out, waiting, being magnetic. And it's like, cool, come to me. I'll be here. I'll be here when you get here.
Right,
Like
right.
that base electric magnetic relationship.
And it really holds all of the substance. They both hold the same information apparently because they have to come together, or they hold equal amounts of information, but the actual substance is all sitting in the egg, and it's all sitting in earth, and it's just, I like the way that works out.
Yeah, earth is the pure potentiality.
The potential to raise it up. Yep. And it's been making me wonder certain questions about when we start to go through the shift about these hexagrams, but I'll have to save that for another time.
Cool. Ready to keep on?
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to be really fun. So now we're going to expand this out and start getting into like the genetic DNA and binary code aspect that human design represents. So if you're looking at the binary code, yin is represented with the 0, and it's with the minus sign as in the electromagnetic, right? Because the yin is magnetic and it's receiving. So, and then the yang in binary code would be the 1, or in electromagnetic view, then it's like the plus sign because it's the electricity that's moving out. And so if you have a double yin line, then it's 0, 0. And within the I Ching, this will be referred to as old yin. And then
First yin.
First yin, old yin, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be referred to as one of those. Then if you have the yin over the yang, then it's 0 over 1. And so this is referred to as young yin. And this isn't as like directly like an age kind of thing, but it's just because the second line is the younger of the lines, right? You build it up from the bottom up. So the bottom line is the old one. And then the second line is the young one. So because the young one is what they're referring to, the young.
It's just the newest one, the newest arrival.
It's the newest one. Exactly. That's a better way of saying it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on, we have the yang over the yin, which is the 1 over the 0, which is then the young yang, because again, the second line is newer. And so that second line is yang. So it's the young yang. And then finally, the double yang solid line is 1 over 1, and it's the old yang.
When this fleshes out and we add in mother, father to this, just from these 4 on this side, anybody who programs, hopefully you're starting to notice the 8 paired helix that are 8 1s and 0s in a cluster. When you're coding, it's not 6, it's 8. And it's last I knew, I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, and it's 8 1s and 0s representing this right here. Yeah.
It's cool. Yeah, it's like when you start actually realizing that human design is touching at something real, and you start getting into that genetics, you get into the DNA, you get into the binary code, that like all of these things are speaking about the same program in a way.
That program is us.
Mm-hmm. So continuing on, we're going to start going into this DNA codon side of it. And so that double yin, old yin, 0 over 0, it relates to thiamine. Then the young yin, yin over yang, 0 over 1 is cytosine. Then the young yang, which is the yang over the yin, the 1 over the 0 is guanine. And then finally the old yang, the yang over yang, 1 over 1, that is adenine. And so thiamine links up with adenine because the 0s and the 1s go together. So thiamine is 0, 0, and adenine is 1, 1. So again, the 0s and the 1s, the electric magnetic, they just they pair the yin and the yang, they just pair up by the very nature.
Batteries would be good to consider here. This is the way to make it so that you have a north and south pole, a positive and a negative.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. That's a really good analogy. Yeah. And then cytosine, the C links up with guanine, the G, because again, the 0 and the 1, and then the 1 and the 0, that electromagnetic relationship, guanine with the cytosine. And then finally, the adenine goes with thiamine, because the A and the T, the 1 and the 0. And so this is what's then linking up within our DNA. I believe they're called nucleotides, where they are pairing up. And so these are literally like our building blocks.
Yep. And you'll notice the spiral because we are a double helix, the helix being the shell. It's not just one. They zipper together to make something. Notice it looks like a zipper. If you just look at that TACGGCAT, if you just look just up and down real quick, it looks like the teeth of a zipper. Yep.
It's so cool. I just think this is so fun to go over in the most nerdy way. It's like super cool if you're into it, but it's like so nerdy, but it's so exciting because again, it's speaking to this depth of the patterning, the depth of the programming, and the fact that we can understand it, and that human design speaks to something so real that you can experiment with it, that you can test it out because it's speaking about an absolute truth.
Yes, and so basic and so fundamental to life on this planet. You know what I mean? Just like a negative and a positive, they've been there all along. Even our cells have a negative and a positive side to it, one way or another. I just like how this whole thing ends up zippering up. It's a piece of magic, in my opinion. How'd that happen? Oops, how'd that happen?
Yeah, almost as if it was designed that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so for our final little...
One more thing about this. We're always wondering, we make copies of ourselves, right? We bleed a little bit, we make some more blood, right? It's because it's all there. A hair follicle has the same genetic material as a flake of skin from your toe, which could recreate you, so to speak. And so if you look at it this way and you see this, it means that once half of it, the nucleotide that is the half, this would be like the RNA. Once one of them is set up, it automatically attracts only one way on the other side to guarantee an exact copy each time. So, I mean, it begs the question, why do we grow old? That's every time I look at stuff like this, I wonder, why?
I feel like that's just in the programming as well. It's like we're not made to live forever.
I can't accept that as a foregone fact necessarily. There's no rule that says that that's the case other than, well, I guess there is a bit of a rule because if I try and break those rules, I'll find out soon enough, won't I, Moni?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, ultimately, there is no rule cosmically that I know of that's been stated that says it has to be. Why? They make a perfect copy each time, but apparently they don't.
Or the ability deteriorates over time too. Like the quality of the copy.
Yeah.
It's like if you keep making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy, each time it deteriorates a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. So there's going to be new frontiers in that arena. I'm sure of it. There's a lot of billionaires that want to live forever anyway, so something's going to give. We'll find out.
So as our final exploration, this is pretty fun. We're going to look at the yin yang code for hexagram 51, which is thunder. And the trigram is actually thunder over and under. So it's the same exact trigram on both, where it's the yang, yin, yin, yang, yin, yin. And so we're going to now break this down into the binary code. So first you have the double yin. So that's a 0, 0.
We're starting at the top, right?
Yeah. I don't think it matters one way or the other for the sake of example. I probably could have started from the bottom up, but I think yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So double yin is the 0, 0 for binary code. Then you have the yang over the yin, which is the 1 over the 0. And then finally you have the yin over the yang, which is 0 over 1. So there's your binary code for hexagram 51.
Yeah, and anybody who, again, programs code will recognize this structure. We started programming code on our computers before fully understanding in our genetic code this was the case. It was just the thing that made sense. And I would, when I read for people and I point that, if that comes up and I point that out, I was like, there's a deep connection, because why binary? Here we come up with this. I don't know that we came up with it independently. I doubt we actually came up fully independently with binary code for computing, because we did crack our code in 57, but we were messing around with computers and code. These things grew up, these sciences grew up together, and they copied each other without necessarily knowing the full breadth of each other at all. So it is unique that we come to the same place almost accidentally. And so why binary code? What was the rule on that? So some guys are like, hey, let's keep it at binary. And I was like, why not trinary? Why not 4? Why not 22? What was the rule? Isn't more better? Right? You have more options, you get maybe more sophisticated things, but nope. Just like a good generator, you know, 0. And that's it.
Yeah, again, I feel like it just speaks to the absolute truth of the programming, because that is just the way that our universe is built. Like we're built on a binary code. We're built in the masculine and the feminine, the yin and the yang. It's just these absolute factual truths. It's just the foundation which the program is built. So that's what you're going to see. That's what you're going to interact with. That's what you're going to develop.
Indeed. Yeah. So we are the code. I mean, we knew that in the Matrix. That Matrix is like a guideline book, right, of some sort. It always comes up. Everyone mentions it.
Absolutely. So, and then finally, we're going to go into the genetic code on that nucleotide aspect. So 00 is thymine, 1/0 is guanine, and 0/1 is cytosine, which altogether, there's the TAGCCG, is the amino acid for arginine.
And there's 64. Are there 60? No, there aren't 64 different amino acids, because some of them double up. Isn't that right? I'm almost certain
I can do a quick search and see how many amino acids are there.
That would be interesting. Yeah, are you doing that?
I'm literally doing that, because why not?
Okay, yeah, no, people will wait. This is interesting enough. Because
although over 500 amino acids exist in nature, by far the most important are the 22 amino acids incorporated into proteins.
Okay. I thought some of them repeated. Oh, they must, if those, I bet you in those 22, when we look in our human code, you know what, I'm going off on a tangent, because I'm now not sure what I'm saying, so it's all good.
This is just future research that we can dive into.
Yep.
But yeah, I just wanted to structure this all out and build it all up. Just, I don't know, because it's a fun exploration, and I just kind of wanted this to exist out there for anyone else who may find it as fascinating as we do.
Well, we need it. And by the way, this lower part where the yin yang code, the hexagram 51, and we get over to the thymine, the guanine, and the cytosine, and we get to the name of the amino acid, what you're looking at is the flow chart that basically came about when we cracked our genetic code in the first place in 1957. Who were the scientists? They were Watson and Crick. They did the deed, and it came to this. This is the formula to get to the actual. And you can't end up having the whole amino acid until all 6 lines of the hexagram are put in place.
Oh, that's really interesting, because it took the 6 lines to get the 3 bases to build up the amino acid, to have the 3 of them. That's really interesting.
And that's why we're always layering these aminos on top of each other, and that's why one of them is always transitioning out, and it's the 3 transitions out when we're talking about a trigram, and the 6 transitions out when we're talking about a hexagram, and those 2 are the mirror of each other. They're the harmony to each other. This whole thing flows like a Da Vinci, like something Leonardo painted, seriously.
Yeah, just that scene from A Beautiful Mind.
Yeah, the Rain Man mind. Some, downloaded. Some of the stuff was incredibly downloaded. I mean, I have a Rain Man mind sometimes, but not like, this thing just came in. I adore it. I think I'm on the spectrum a little bit, Moni. I'll take it.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I almost wonder, it's like I have my DNA genome thing sequenced from like 23andMe, and I downloaded it, And I was like, oh, I wonder if I actually went in, if I could play around with this enough to come up with the TACG combinations for all of it.
Mhm.
And then would I be able to then be able to build out all my hexagrams in this way?
What's important, just an important thing, I mean, in the whole field of education, just generally speaking, now you can see that when you see this stuff, on a show, on a this, or someone mentions it, it doesn't have to seem strictly like Greek to you. You can be like, oh, this is according to the logical format that if I look at it again, I can see I can figure that out. Remember that common language in human design is the logical circuitry, right? That's our most common
Yeah, it's like,
understanding way. Yeah.
yeah, it's my mom was a bilingual teacher for many, many years, and her students always loved math because they weren't penalized, or they didn't think they were not smart enough, because math is the same in every language.
Indeed, it is. Just like, it's funny because just like human design, won't matter what language you're reading in, you're going to get the same keynotes and call out the same stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's like there is that logic, there is that pattern to the program that we can visually explore, and you can, just, it looks really complicated at first, like all of this information, but as we just broke it down, it wasn't as big of a deal once you understand like the key to the pattern.
Yeah, and just from this sort of higher level of consciousness thing, just to think about it, everyone always knows that we're supposed to be raising ourselves up in our consciousness, and generally, and what this whole thing speaks to is you need one to have the other each and every single time, and it doesn't matter what language you read human design in or do math in, it's always going to come out basically the same. So we're all the same. I mean, if ever there was a way to message out just in a logical format, never mind how you feel inside, of course, that to me is the higher purpose self. Or when you feel that that's a good thing, you recognize we are all the same,
We're made
wildly different, yet all the same.
with same
It's,
building blocks. It's
yep,
like we have the same Lego pieces, but you can put them together in
identical.
infinite
Like,
number of
yep,
ways.
yep, yep, yep. So we're all just the same Lego set, different
Put together
characters.
in beautiful different combinations.
Yes, yes, yes. It is a gorgeous thing. Is there a next slide, or is this the end of the slides?
This is just it. This is just then, thank you for exploring this with me. And thank you for our audience for watching and liking, subscribing, and commenting and all this stuff. And then I figure I'll let you leave your message. And then we'll have part 2 of our episode, where we're going to be going into eaching the trigrams and like the energetic exploration, like what is earth, what is mountain, what is thunder. So hold tight for that.
Well, I'm just here to let you know that anybody who wants to call in or dial in or reach out as it relates to having yourself read, your chart read, your family, for yourself, a friend, as a gift, or for your children, now's a good time. Anytime's really a good time. I can be reached on Instagram, probably is a good way to get me. Danny Guru HD on Instagram, or you can just email me at dannygg@dannyguru.com. Moni will probably put some of this stuff in the show notes at some point. And you can reach out to her too, by the way. She's the resident projector, so you should want that. We tend to make just the reading magic team, and we're going to call for more readers as stuff starts to build and more people are dialing in to come to know themselves. And so ultimately, I've already got several other readers. I know that we can start to build this team and make it so we really move this knowledge out into the world. And what is the knowledge? If you're just new to this or wondering what is your human design, come let us dazzle you with who you are and who you're not, and don't let that be an esoteric thing. It's a literal thing. It's a genetic thing. We're made this way. If you're into it a little bit, I offer this amazing service, just 3 full sessions where we hyper get you to know things according to your time frame and where you're at. So I just take where you're at and we build on your knowledge to help speed up what would be a classroom setting of 12 or 18 weeks or whatever into 3 separate sessions. You got to want that, by the way. Don't just book that on a whim. You got to want that. In fact, we should talk first before you do that. And then obviously couples and families are big deal. So Shazam.
Perfect. All right, good stuff. You ready to dive into part 2?
Do it.
Cool. So this is I Ching, Trigrams, and Human Design. So now we're going to be diving into the energetic background, the meaning, the understanding of, lake, mountain, earth, heaven. When you see those trigrams stacked on top of each other to create the hexagrams in a human design, then here's another way we could look at it. So I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, and it adds in. So just so you can see that it all ties back to very ancient wisdoms, plural. There's so much to do between the four main wisdoms that sort of sprung up everything else. And it
Yeah,
just goes a long way.
yeah, these are some like really old concepts that we get to touch upon, that they were, again, they're looking at something that speaks to a program, to an absolute truth that is the foundation of the world we inhabit. So they were really onto something.
I quite agree. My favorite statement. They were on to something.
Absolutely. So thank you again to all of our viewers who are watching and liking and subscribing. It helps us a lot. And let's get into it. So Fuxi is a mythological figure depicted as a cultural hero in ancient China. He lived around 2800 BC, but that date is more symbolic than historical. And he is credited with the invention of the 8 trigrams and the bagua, which is the arrangement of the trigrams into usually like a circle shape. And we'll get to that later on in the episode. And he was inspired by observation of the natural world and distilled fundamental principles of reality into a binary system of broken yin or solid yang lines arranged into the 8 trigrams, representing the basic forces of nature and the universe. And this is a shift from chaotic myth to systemic thought, marking an early attempt to codify the world's patterns.
Yeah, and that codification, humanity has been about it the whole time. Think about what the awareness mind on the scene at the time was all about, measuring. This is all straight. So we're measuring fools back then, we're the same now, right? What's changed? Not much.
And then the I Ching, it's also known as the Book of Changes. And then in the Chinese, it would be Yi Jing. So Yi means change and Jing is book. So there you have the Book of Changes. And the 8 trigrams expanded into 64 hexagrams, and text was added for these changing lines. And this is attributed to King Wen around 1100 BC. And later Confucius, who lived around 500 BC, added philosophical commentaries. And this is recognized as a single conception created as an interconnected whole, revealing the underlying patterns and dynamics of life's changes.
Yeah, this Book of Changes, as I'm always describing it, one of the cool things you can do is just go to the I Ching itself, the Chinese I Ching, the block of squares, I always call it, right? And if you just squint your eyes a little bit, you can see the lines are always changing. No wonder they wanted to make sense of it. Right, because they're always changing. If you squint your eyes just a little bit, they never change necessarily the same way a second time either, because the changing lines. And what was the subtitle of that book? It was The Ways of Modern Man. That's what it was. The Book of Changes, The Ways of Modern Man. So even back then, they were like, hey, we're the newer version. They knew they were a version. It's just I find that incredibly aware.
But like everything is always changing. It's never static. It's never just the same thing over and over again. Like every second is different from the last. Every breath is different from the last. Like, you're a completely different person at every moment.
When a person asks, but they repeat. So what do you say to that?
Well,
Because they will repeat.
Well, there's patterns. There's obviously patterns, like the seasons. You're always going to go from winter to spring to summer to fall to winter to spring to summer to fall, but you're never going to have 2 winters that are exactly the same. You're never going to have 2 springs that are exactly the same. So there's patterns within. It's the yin yang. It's the exact same thing. It's the pattern and the pattern disruption. It's the order and then the creation and the change, and it's that perfect balance between the two.
Exactly. And like Rob would always say, it wouldn't matter if they were identically the same. Even like 2 charts, absolutely identical down to the base. It could happen. And I'm sure it has happened, actually. It does happen. In fact, there's about 14 of each different possibility when you get to all 4 or 8 million different possibilities or something like that. I forgot how many there were total. But I forgot what my original point was with all of this. But
Well, it's like a fingerprint. They all kind of look the same until you look closer. It's like a snowflake. They all look exactly the same until you get really, really close, and each one is somehow exactly different, even if it is exactly the same. And a snowflake is composed of the same exact, molecules as the snowflake next to it, yet it's a completely different expression.
totally different sets of characteristics entirely. And the thing I was going to say about Ra, what he always pointed out was even if it did duplicate itself exactly, it still isn't duplicated because it's at a different time. So the time that that thing arrived and was a thing is deeply consequential, spiritually speaking, literally speaking, scientifically speaking. Yeah.
Absolutely. So here we have our Earth trigram, which is the receptive, and it's open to receive and support. Earth makes inspiration manifest, gives it form, and sustains growth, and it's available to be used, ready to lend strength to work without limit, and it protects and accepts all things in totality, and it's present and potential in an unconditional embrace. And so it's referred to as Kun in the Chinese, and it's represented as the mother. So the trigrams, these 8 trigrams, all have like a family relationship. And so the full yin, 3 yin lines stacked on top of each other are referred to as the mother.
Yeah, very much. They are the mother. I'm guessing Kun is the root of Kundalini.
Possibly, but I can't speak to that.
Cool.
Because Kundalini, I think that would just be a thing that it maybe sounds the same, but it's not actually the same, because I would imagine that goes into like Hinduism and Indian. So I'm gonna be questioning and weary on that. But
It just occurred to me. These things have all connected over the years, over the centuries and millennia, really. But mother is the open and the receptive. That's what's important to notice. To me, what's important to notice about a triple yin trigram. It's open. It's fully receptive to that which will pass through.
absolutely. And even just like Mother Earth, like that we refer to it as, Mother Earth, Father Sky, that's the same exact kind of aspect. And what's also interesting is that when Earth is the foundation within the human design calendar, it's in the next couple weeks. So it's very much springtime. It's as you start planting seeds and start getting your gardens ready, that's when Earth is the foundational trigram of the body graph.
It's so funny. And then the next quarter that comes is all yin, civilization. Although you could argue it yang, but it's substance, it's earth, it's made of earth.
Well, and gate 2 is the beginning of the quarter of
Receptive.
civilization, which is 6 yin lines. It's all feminine. It's earth over earth.
Yep.
Absolutely. Any other thoughts? Cool. So next up, we have mountain, which is keeping still. And this is the limit where you must stop. And it marks the ending of cycles. And mountain, it defines a space to recognize, assimilate, and complete experience, creating personal stillness amid change. And it's a retreat for perspective and firm foundation for new growth. Mountain is well-grounded, confident, an independent spirit. It's still and a knowing. In the Chinese, it's Zhen. And it is referred to as the youngest son within the trigram family. And so this is pretty cool, because this is actually a really great way to memorize the 8 trigrams in a simple way, is through this family metaphor. And so this is referred to as the youngest son, because when we're looking at our trigrams, you're looking for the one outlier. So you have the 2 yin and then the yang. So the yang is the outlier, so it's going to be marked as like masculine. So it's one of the sons. And because it's that 3rd line, it's the youngest, it's the newest. Remember, we build up our trigrams from the bottom up. So because the outlier is the yang masculine, it's a son. And because it's the 3rd, it is the youngest son. And then with my little like mnemonic that I think of like the youngest brother who's like tired and sick of his older brothers bothering him and being noisy. And he's going to like go run off to go be still in the mountain and have his own little chill time.
And he definitely wants his mommy.
And that it's like the closest, that mountain follows earth, that he's like right there next to the mother of earth.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving on. So mountain is all about stillness. Next up, we have water, which is the abysmal, and abysmal as in abyss, not as in like bad. Think of like the old understanding of the abyss and the depth. So water, it's about deep water. It's flowing and formless. And water is unconscious to fire's sharp lucidity. It's fluid, it's intuitive, and it's an emotional way of perceiving. And it also can represent danger, exposure, and solitude. And so water needs to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted with the haunting unknown. And in Chinese, it's kan, and it is represented in the trigram family as the middle sun, because again, within the 3 lines, you're looking for the one outlier. So it's one yang line. So it's a sun, it's the masculine, and it's in between. It's in the middle of the 2 feminine lines. So it's the middle sun. And within my analogy and little mnemonic memory device, I think of like a boy that has like an older sister and a younger sister, and he's just surrounded by girls, and he's just surrounded by this abyss and this feminine energy.
Yeah, and this abysmal has everything to do with the capacity to sustain and persevere. Think of the guy on the chain gang, or it's your job to pound rocks all day. It seems abysmal, but to do that job, you're at it still day in and day out. And it's not supposed to be seen in a negative light. Abysmal is just a depth that perseveres. I look at abysmal like perseverance. Yeah. The middle son, and middle son must persevere, or he'll never get heard. The baby will get all the attention, and the elder will get all
the praise,
trouble or not praise or trouble.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the middle one is like, just do as you're told. I was a middle child.
Of course you were.
That's so funny.
So yeah, so water, the abysmal, and it's the middle sun. Next up, we have wind, which is the gentle. And wind is whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, because wind is shaping itself to the space available, and it's shaping space to its own nature. It's responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. And wind creates no resistance, and it has a subtle yet far-reaching influence. So in Chinese, it's Zun, and it's the eldest daughter in the trigram family, because the one outlier, you have the 2 yang, you have the 1 yin line, and the yin line is at the bottom. It's the first line. So it's the oldest since they go from the bottom up.
Yeah, so I'll see as the rest of these unfold. The outlier being the yin here. It's foundational. The eldest daughter in astrology is it's not the moon, is it? I don't know. Sometimes it's either the moon or it's Venus, maybe.
Oh, within the planetary analogy. Here, I can check that too, because I have that on my planet notes. So you just talk about something.
Yeah, no, and it is pretty cool, because what I'm also noticing is we're moving up some gates. I'm going to see if I can remember them all. I'm going to see if my rightness remembers it while I'm sitting here being present.
Sure.
When we could even look at a body graph and see what are the gates that they're talking about with these things, because they're talking, each one of these keeps hitting on a particular gate.
Yeah, and that's also what we're going to be doing next week. The second part of our show, we're going to be going through all the gates of the Earth trigram. So there's going to be 8 gates that we're going to talk about next week. So we'll actually do that. And it is the moon that is the oldest daughter in planetary thinking.
All right. Yep. I had it right the first time. Cool.
Did you want to say anything about the moon as the oldest daughter?
Not really. It was a curiosity.
Cool.
Other than it's the one moving the most.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Oh, and for my analogy, to think of the eldest daughter and wind, then I was thinking of like if you see like an old Victorian era movie, and it's the oldest daughter who's the most demure, and she has like her fan, and she's going out to the opera, and that sense of wind that is shaping itself. It's very influential, but it's very subtle, right? It's not the going out and fighting and, causing a ruckus. The wind is gentle. It's adapting to the space, and it has a great influence, even if it just looks like, a feminine girl being all demure off into the corner. She can actually be very influential in a way.
Absolutely, very influential and penetratingly aware. There's intuition here. There's deep, deep intuition in this trigram.
Makes sense. Next up, we have thunder, the arousing. So thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. And thunder is the basic drive for renewal that inspires initiative and decisive action. And it's the stimulus setting things in motion. In Chinese, it's Zhen. And in the trigram family, it is the eldest son, because the outlier of the three lines is yang. So it's masculine, it's going to be a son. And the oldest line, the first line, is the yang. So that's why it's the oldest son. And I just think of, the oldest brother, the oldest son who's like lighting off fireworks on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and getting his younger brother to go along and get in trouble or not.
And the youngest one is going to go run off to be still in the mountain.
I'm curious, Zhen, did that get shortened to Zen, and then is there any kind of?
I have no idea.
You know what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah. No, there's lots of links with words, but especially it's like I'm not familiar enough with like Chinese etymology to make any kind of claims, but there might be some association.
Yep. Cool. I love thunder, just generally speaking, because it speaks to the need to awaken the spirit of the self. The thunder first awakens the spirit of the self. That's the move. Yeah, and that's the movement in the body graph. We've been tic-tac-toeing through various gates, by the way, just through the names I'm noticing, and that's the job of this thing. And that would be a job left to the eldest son in the father's absence, and it would be a job communioned on and cooperated with by the eldest son and the father when needed, especially if they actually do need their thunder. You know what I mean? The thunder arrives. So
yeah, and if you do think of it within the body graph, like thunder, when it's thunder over and under, when it's thunder on top and bottom, then that's gate 51, which is shock. That's pure shock. And then what Danny was referring to is that gate 51 links up with 25, which is that spirit of the self.
This innocence of the self. The spirit of the self is rooted in our innocence. As soon as you don't know what's going on, you're in the spirit of yourself. You're just innocent. As soon as you've had to figure it all out, you're now something else.
You're stressed out.
Yeah, you're stressed out. Usually, yeah. Something of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, as a 2551 is my only channel, and 25 is my conscious son of innocence. Is when I have to not be innocent and I have to figure things out, I get myself into trouble and chaos.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so that's thunder, the arousing. It is that shock and spark of the new. Next up, we have fire, which is the clinging. And fire is inner and outer light. As inner light, fire is consciousness at its most lucid and unclouded. And as outer light, fire is the light that makes things visible. Fire is the power to cast light, spread clarity, and awareness of order. In the Chinese, it's Li. And in our trigram family, fire is the middle daughter, right? The two lines are yang. The one feminine line means it's a daughter. It's going to be feminine, and it is in the middle of the three lines. So that's why it's the middle daughter. And for my little analogy and memory trick is the middle daughter who's like up in her room lighting candles and incense.
That's so cute. The middle daughter is probably also got. I was both a middle child and a youngest child, by the way. I'll explain that another time. I'm not sure what to say about fire, except it seems to go perfectly with what we just had before. Thunder and lightning will make fire ultimately, sooner or later. But this fire and this whole clinging to, I like the way that if you take, I'm thinking gate 31 here.
Yeah.
I don't know if this trigram is part of gate 31.
Yeah, because it's the clinging fire.
Yeah. And this is a big direction driver. It refines what's going to move us in a direction towards the completion of the experience. And since we're designed to commune and find love, the experience is going to be imbued with both of those things. Fire lights the way to the communing imbued with communion and love. I like that. That's a Hallmark card of some sort. Never mind Hallmark, they're lame. That's something else, but
The concept of it, you'd make a very delightful, poetic greeting
yeah, I
card.
think so.
Absolutely. So yeah, so fire, it's the clinging, and I even think of like the way fire would cling to, a log, or fire clings to a wick, and it's burning things away. It's having that consciousness that it's most lucid and unclouded, right? Or I dance with fire, I perform with fire, and like you're definitely super lucid and unclouded when you are spinning fireballs around your head and dancing. Like it is gonna make you very aware. And especially think of like when you're camping or the electricity goes out, like the sun goes away and it is incredibly dark. Like we forget about it. Like electricity is so easy for us. But that outer light of fire, which is the light that's making things visible that otherwise would be shrouded in shadows and darkness and danger. So it casts that light, it spreads the clarity and that awareness of order.
The feeling, the feeling that you just must experience both an inner light and an outer light. It lights the way for others and it fires up the way within. I like it. I feel good.
Yeah, so that's fire. Next up, we have lake, which is the joyous. And lake is abundant energy teeming with life. Lake is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange. It's sheer excitement and fully participating in life, expressing in self, hearing others, and satisfying desires. And in Chinese, it'd be dui. And in our analogy for the trigram family, lake is the youngest daughter. So there's two yang lines and then the one yin. So because the one outlier is yin, it is a daughter, it is feminine. And because it's that third line, it's the youngest in the development of the trigram. It's the youngest daughter. And I just imagine like a little girl playing by a lake and like looking at the fishies, and it's just so abundant, that teeming with life. It's the abundance, right? And that's the difference too, because I would see lake and water as the trigrams. And it's like, I don't understand, what is the difference between these? How are these, what are they, they're obviously referring to something different. Whereas water is the abyss, it's the depth of being like lost in the ocean almost. Whereas, you go to a lake and, it's not as big and scary. It's a bit safer, it's a bit more fun, and it's more playful, and it's the abundance of life.
Yeah, I like this abundance, this impulse to communicate, share, and exchange. That is the joyous. And this is dying to basically go up a whole process of identification. So this is in the youngest daughters where we ultimately identify with certain things. Certain things will be ordained to identify with or not here, is sort of how I'm reading this. And the joyous is just loves to start. This is 1, 2, 3 start territory. That's what this trigram says. 1, 2, 3, go. With
Yeah.
me too, right? Together.
Yeah, it's like a little girl that wants to like take your hand to like show you flowers and like, look at fish. Like
now. The point being in the now. It's like right now, and it's important to her.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love the imagery of this with like the koi fish and like the lotus and stuff. That was really fun.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so that's lake. And finally, we have heaven, which is the creative. So heaven is suprahuman. It's beyond the human, and it's cosmic law, right? And so heaven is creativity in pure form, determining nature and the development of all. It's the movement of stars, the cycle of seasons. It's what causes seeds to grow into plants. It's the force that drives change and what endures from within. So in Chinese, it's qian. And in our trigram family analogy, heaven is represented as father. It is the three yang lines.
And this is all just the expression of pure energy, right back to where we started on the first portion of this show. The battery, the electrons are all moving, they're on fire, and they're pushing what ends up becoming a current that then makes the light up, or the motor run, or the electric bike go, all of it. And that is a pure energetic state. So Father, Son, Heaven, God, they all seem to be synonymous here. Although plenty of times father isn't very heavenly or godly or sunshine-like, you know what I mean?
I mean, we're talking about archetypes here. We're talking about like archetypes
I
and
know,
symbols,
I know.
like this is just to give like a foundational understanding of, again, these deeper absolute, these deeper things within our programming. So heaven is represented as the sun, that pure electric force. That's that which is, causing the movement of the stars, the cycles of the season. It's what causes seeds to grow into plants. It is that pure electric energy, right? It's that pure radiation from the sun, which is so powerful. It's like when you really realize how powerful the sun is, like that is, this trigram of heaven, this pure yang energy.
It's so powerful that it caused the whole planet to turn green, and inside that greenery to grow up all kinds of life forms that accept its rays and turn it into something material.
Mm-hmm.
So pure energy turns into material once grounded. Go figure. That's a big tall statement. Because the light, catch the light, Moni. The light that's coming, turn it. You can't, right?
Yeah,
You and I can't catch it and turn it into something. But
the earth can.
the Earth can, and Sun basically drove that power into the Earth. But the Earth always had it, I would guess, because they are yin and a yang, cosmically speaking. But one drove into the other. Like one was the spark that woke up the other. Actually, this is just like the sperm. We're describing the
Sperm and the
sperm.
egg.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's so funny.
Yeah. It's the
Yep.
same exact thing of the pure electricity of the sun and the pure magnetism of the earth. It's the pure electricity of the sperm and the pure magnetism of the egg. It's the same patterns that life is just built upon. It's the same absolute truths, the same program and pattern. So that's what we're talking about here. So like that's what's really cool about these 8 trigrams and this understanding of energetics is it is speaking about something deeper, and it's really fun to get to explore of like, this isn't nothing. Like everything has become like relative. Everything is relative, and you could do this and you do you and blah blah blah, and like no one wants to like have any strong opinions, and everything has become very like floaty, and I feel like we've become very ungrounded in a way, just like really like you see it in society. Everyone seems kind of just ungrounded into something, and I think a lot of us are lost. And I know part of what I love about human design is that it speaks about something real. You can't see it, but you can see it. Right? You can't see energetics, but man, you can sure witness and perceive them. And you can play with human design. You can play with this experiment, and you can, just trip over the absolute truths of how your energy works or how somebody else is engaging in the world, or why did that thing get weird? And so the fact that human design is built on these building blocks of the I Ching, again, it's just what we can speak to as these absolute truths in our programming that stack together. And I just think that's really cool and beautiful.
Cosmic law. I love it.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so
So is this the end of the slides?
no, there's a couple more. There's a couple more. So this is the end of the
Good.
8 trigrams. But
Right.
now, just to round it out, there's what's called a bagua. So the bagua is like an arrangement of the 8 trigrams. And so there's 2 of them that we're going to talk about. There's the Fuxi bagua. So Fuxi being that mythological cultural hero of ancient China who came up with the trigrams. So the Fuxi bagua is referred to as the earlier heaven, and it reflects a primordial ideal of the universe, cycles of nature, and the balance of yin and yang, and the directions align with static eternal framework. So if you look here, the easiest one to look at is like Earth is at the bottom, heaven is at the top, which makes obvious logical sense. And the Earth is that pure yin, the heaven is pure yang, and they're exactly matching each other on the opposite side. And you can actually look at that in all the directions, right? If you look at fire on the right, it's yang, yin, yang, whereas water on the right side is yin, yang, yin. And you can do that on all of these directions to see that it's this, this static external framework of what we're talking about. So this arrangement of the trigrams is just that perfect balance of itself.
And part of the beauty of the symmetry along with our genetics is like the picture before where we finally got to the TCGA and you saw how they lined up, right? And it looked like a zipper zippering up. The way these things mirror with each other right? Fire and water are exact, like you were saying, exact mirrors to one another. This is just describing that zipper process. Literally, one brings the other. I like that fire and water bring each other. It makes a nice warm bath. It's comfortable.
It's really cute.
Right, we were born from warm bath-like fluid. It's perfect.
Absolutely. So, and this is the same Bagua base that human design uses, which is why I wanted to bring it up. So human design is using that earlier heaven, that Fuxi Bagua. So I love this version of the body graph, by the way. It's absolutely one of my favorites because you can just go from the center and build it out from the like source to yin yang to the 2 to 3 out to the 6 lines. But I highlighted what we're looking at here, which is those 8 trigrams. So if you look, it's a little shifted clockwise. But if you just kind of tilt your head a little bit, you can see like Earth is at the bottom, heaven is at the top, and all the rest match up with that Fuxi Bagua that we were looking at on the previous page. And so it's arranged in this like perfect way to go around the year.
I get in trouble when I look at the wheel itself. I've already fallen off of the exact subject that you're talking about for a quick second. I right-minded out accidentally. Just generally speaking, each one of these four bangers that shows up the hexagram that's right above it, these again just make further building blocks that were measured a long time ago. We measured this stuff. It's in textbooks now. It's so funny. I would love to go to a college campus genetics class and be like, "Oh, you guys are studying the I Ching, huh?" And give them a little bit of, right? And they'd be like, "Oh, what's your degree?" I don't think they tell our students this stuff. They should.
I don't think most people, even who would know about genetics or science or anything, like I don't think most of them would be looking at the I Ching. Like
I would agree.
I would have no perception that this means anything if it wasn't for human design. And honestly, finding like this version of the body graph online, and I was like, what is this? What does this mean? And it was my desire to understand what this means, which is why I created this whole series. So yeah. I think it's so neat. So yeah, human design uses this earlier heaven, this Fuxi Bagua, as a map of cosmic harmony, reflecting a perfect, unchanging balance of opposites. Like everything is like perfectly balanced and arranged. And I feel like this version of the body graph is just such a delight for anyone with like a logical pattern mind. It's just so never-endingly beautiful.
The patterns never stop. That much I do know. They just literally, they never stop. And with plenty of duplications, they still never stop. It's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. And then finally, there's also this alternate version of the Bagua. So this is the King Wen Bagua, or it's referred to as the later heaven Bagua. And so this is not human design, but I just wanted to talk about it so you have a sense that this exists. So if you look it up, you're like, why is this one different than the other one? So this King Wen Bagua represents a dynamic temporal order adjusted to human experience. So if you look at this one, whereas the previous, that Fuxi earlier heaven Bagua had, heaven on top, earth on the bottom, with this one, it's water is at the bottom and then fire's at the top. And all the other ones are differently arranged. And so water and fire are the only ones that actually match each other, where water is yin yang yin and fire is yang yin yang. That's the only ones, if you look 180 degrees across, that's the only one that actually matches up. So I think with this one, they rearranged the trigrams to align with the like the cardinal directions, like north, south, east, and west. So that's why that's like how they arranged this Bagua. So this arrangement of the trigrams, mostly if you're going to see it, it's used with like feng shui. So if you look up like a feng shui Bagua, it's usually this King Wen, this later heaven Bagua. And so feng shui uses it as a map, a way to map the flow of energy, qi, in a space, aligning with directional trigrams to harmonize life with natural cycles. So at this, you can like have this diagram and how you set up your house or a room with what you put in which places to align with the energy of each of those trigrams to create harmony in your life is the concept of it.
Yeah, and Feng Shui has been around a long time. I like the fact that it reorients back to straight up north-south and then changes the order of the trigrams. So basically, I'm sure they were onto something, and I know we did feng shui and feng shui in this house that I'm in way back when. I remember I liked it. It was cool. I'm a dude, so I sort of lost track of all that, but it's not my fault. Um, that's funny, but it just shows to how we're always mixing. Just like the nodes go one way and the wheel goes and we go the other, and that creates a mixing. The genetic pond is constantly in a mixing. You know, the universe itself is constantly in a mixing. Go watch the cosmic dance of two, you know, asteroids running into each other, constant mixing, galaxies and so forth running into each other. So this just shows another way to mix things up. You're reading this way into a space, and that actually causes a mixing for what we are, right? It's not identical, which is what human design, the whole reason it was started to even be able to be read in the first place is because it got noticed. One of the things that showed up first was it's not identical. It's not fully symmetrical, right? There's 7 right angles, 1 jux, 4 left. Nothing is quite, certain things, symmetricalness is not throughout HD at all. So I found that interesting.
Absolutely. It's super fascinating.
Can you imagine what Ra went through for those 8 days? Some of this talk we just had was part of what he was going through. I don't know what parts, but some of it was. You know, now that all of this is coming out, he got taught a lot of this stuff in those 8 days. Wonder if he was pissed at first. He's like, "What are you doing teaching me this stuff? Get to the juicy stuff." I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, just so connected with some force outside of himself that was imparting this wisdom to download into him to understand the entire like building blocks of the universe is pretty wild and insane, but also really brilliant, you know. And what was it after Ra had his experience with the voice, those 8 days, then afterwards he was like so sad and depressed because he was just so connected to the universe, to the divine, and then it was just gone. You know, you're like, well, what now? It's almost like when you read like an amazing book that changes your life and then you close the last page and your whole world has shifted and you look around and no one else has experienced that. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess
You're
this is
not in the middle of the
me.
experience of the clinging fire of the feeling of the book itself, which reminds me, I want to go to the gates and see if I remember them. So the very first one we went to, gate 2, all yin. The next thing we went to was the mountain, 52 format channel, pushing up the logical side. And then the next one we went to was perseverance, 29. And then the next one we went, now that's pushing up the experiential side of the collective. And then we went to 57, the penetrating awareness of it all with amazing intuition. And I think that was either the middle or the eldest daughter, I forget. And then we went to 51. And then after 50, do I have them all? And after 51, is that now back to gate 1, all yang? Did I get them all?
I don't know. You're going really fast, and I wasn't exactly sure.
Oh,
Were you going for like the first one of each trigram, or?
no, I was going for, as you were talking and describing, I was like, that sounds like it's got keynotes and words, and it sounds like gate 2 was the first thing you read. And then
Well,
the
so
next one
so
sounded like gate 52, mountain.
yeah, so Earth is the yin over yin, and that starts with 2. Mountain is 52 is the second of mountain because 15 begins mountain, and then with was that water, then it's like 7 and 4. So yeah, a lot of gates.
A lot of gates. I can't wait till we sort of start to get into them. I was
Yeah,
just talking about the trigrams. I know the trigram can't be the gate because the gate has to be 2 trigrams. But it was just the trigram as it was being read. I was associating with those gates as we were going through, and I was telling myself a little story about it, and it was pretty cool.
absolutely. So
Moni will tell you every once in a while. I send her a picture, so I have right. I have a counter. I keep a counter going almost all day, every day. It seems like,
it's like a
and
timer.
yeah, just a timer telling me how long was my day, how long, and I'm constantly clicking again to start the next thing. So the whole time of the day goes by, but every 3 or so hours it starts over again. I start a new thing, and when I do that, sometimes I'll snap a picture and I send it to Moni, and it's like 4 numbers, and I'm like, these are 4 gates. Tell us a story. And I tell myself a story every time I stop this thing. It's like, it feels like wax on, wax off is what it feels like. Like I can't stop doing it. I've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, it's a great way to like practice your understanding of human design and putting these different things together, because that's so much of what it is like we're looking at these different energetics that have these archetypal meanings and we're layering them over one another to understand the patterns, and then in understanding the patterns and using the keynotes we could put them together to come up with a story to then actually have an effect, right? We're story-based creatures. Like the whole, abstract circuitry is all about the story, and like you have a good story, and if you can make something into an interesting story, someone can frame their beliefs around it and their life around it. So if you have these keynotes tied together, they can create the story of who you are, and you can have a sense of what that is in truth and aim towards yourself in truth.
Absolutely. And now you know why, at least part of why, we can look at a two-dimensional piece of paper and tell you things that we should have no idea of. We should not be able to know. And it's consistent over and over. It keeps repeating itself. I've yet to see it fail. By the way, I've yet to see it actually be not so.
Yeah, when you're reading someone's chart and because it's again, we're looking at patterns. You can look at a stranger's chart and tell them all about themselves, and it's like you're not a wizard and you're not a psychic. It's just a matter of pattern recognition and being able to express that to somebody where it's just things about themselves that they know, but they've never
They
had to put
know.
it in context. It's like these
They
things they
know,
know about
Moni.
themselves,
They know.
but they don't have a context, and that's what
Right.
human design provides. Human design provides this foundational context, so you can actually do something with all these weird things. Yeah, 20 different things about yourself, but you don't know how they're in relationship with one another, and which things are you and which things are the not you. So human design and a good analyst who can put those keynotes together can really give you a sense of context of who you are. And again, what you're looking at is what you're going to aim towards. It's like if you're driving and you take your eyes off the road, you're going to start drifting at whatever your
Yep.
eyes are looking at.
Yep.
So be careful with what you're looking at and what you're aiming for, because you can get into some weird places.
Weird
And
places. Yeah, no, it's totally true. What was it? A mechanic. That's what it is. I like being a mechanic. It's a
mhm.
mystical mechanic, There's mystical mechanisms moving on here, set in place billions of years ago. We have no idea. We can't prove any of it, yet here we are, the living proof of all of it.
Mhm.
There's a Confucius say, that which you cannot prove and there can be no proof, yet your life is proof of all of it. What is it? I feel like a riddle now suddenly.
Yeah, you're a very good fortune cookie.
Yep, yep. And the fortune cookie, gotta love it. But no, that seems good. I think we made a good run of all this, Moni. This was great.
Yeah, thanks.
We killed it.
Yeah, we did the thing. I've been so excited about this presentation for so long, because it's so fun to design everything and put it all together, because it's very fun and creative. But yeah, that was a really fun deep dive into the I Ching. So we had these first two describing the structure of the hexagrams and then the energetics of the trigrams. So next week is going to be really exciting as well, because we're going to be starting basically an 8-part series that's going to go throughout the year, where we're going to be diving into the godheads. And that's where you get into like the 4th line. So godheads are basically like the figurehead of each trigram. So we're going to be explaining those, because that's one of those things you don't really hear about much in human design. And then all of a sudden you do, and you're like, what the hell is a godhead?
What is that?
What is that? And there's not a lot on it. And so I was really excited to dive into it. So
Well, you're out front on this. You are out front on this. I took the Godheads course and I promptly forgot a lot of it. I know it's in there, right? It's in there, but I
yeah.
don't apply it during a reading. So you're leading the way on this. I can't wait to come to you in.
Yeah, it's really fun. And we're going to do it with when they occur within the year. So that's why it's going to be split up into these 8 parts over the year. So next week, we're going to talk about the Godhead Maya and Lakshmi. And they each represent 4 gates. So that'll be the first part of the episode. And then part 2, we're going to look at the 8 gates of the Earth trigram. And looking, yeah, and we're going to be, yeah, so we're going to start with like gate 2, which is yin over yin, earth over earth. So we're going to be talking about those 8 gates through this more I Ching lens of stacking the trigrams and how that shows up. So it's going to be really
It's going to be wicked valuable for everyone because the truth of the matter is you got to get to know these gates. If you're watching this, you just osmosis and repetition gets you to know the gates. And as soon as you get to know them, you suddenly start talking because what human design provides, that foundation, it's not like, well, how? It provides it through language. You get exact language for the thing that repeats. Tomorrow, we'll use the exact same words of that language to mean the thing that we refer to in your life force, in your design, in your sun earth, whatever it is. And so it gives you the language to physically speak out of your mouth to suddenly now experience yourself knowing. It's an incredible thing. You could say it and you know it at the same time. Pretty cool. By the way, when you were 3 years old and that happened, which was almost all day long when you were learning to talk, it was like a mystical experience for yourself. I mean, that was just incredible. I wish everyone could get back there, but
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be another lens to look at the gates. So I
indeed.
think, yeah, it'll be really fun. So we're going to do that. And then after next week, in 2 weeks, that's when we're going to start going through gates in centers. And we're going to have like a whole series of that. So we'll kick that off with head and ajna. So thanks.
Mooney, when can we spot read for somebody? Some stranger interrupt the show. We found somebody. They want to see what happens. They're open, and we see if we can't drop their jaw or not a little bit or whatever.
I mean, if somebody's interested, comment and we'll go from there. I'm a projector. I got to be invited in. When Moana was in charge of things, she just manifested her way into finding lots of people. So I'm just kind of rolling with it and doing the academic, nerdy side of the human design studies. And the show will evolve as we go. So thanks for hanging out and exploring this I Ching deep dive. We have a comment from Amanda. She
Amanda.
said, yeah, hi, Amanda. Thank you, Moni and Danny. This is amazing. I can't wait for the next series. Oh, yay. Thank you so much. That means a whole lot. It's just like, some people are going to get really excited about this level of deep diving. So I'm glad you enjoyed it and that you're excited for the next series. It's going to be really fun. The Godhead series is going to be really, really good. I've been playing with it and making it really pretty and even explaining like that, like the realm of Dubé and the realm of Jupiter and Alcyone of like, what does all that mean? So that's what we're making it into. And she says, love from Chile. So hi, thank you. Love from Chicago.
Awesome. Chile. She's all the way down in Chile. Amanda, drum up some questions for next time. And even if they're inappropriate, because they're not the full subject matter, throw them up there. Well, I'm sorry. I'm skipping the step of being appropriate, but oops, however that worked. But.
Danny is inviting you to ask questions and see where we go and get involved because we love the interaction. That's why we do a live stream instead of straight recording.
Try to stump us. Get it hard. Ask us the hard ones or the easy ones. All of them. They're all good, right?
Perfect.
Make it difficult. I want to go. I'm not sure. I'm waiting for that moment. It's going to show up.
She says she'll send us some questions. Perfect. Yeah, send us questions because we love like the interaction with the show. I think it's really fun and we love engaging. And she's a 2-4 MG just like you.
Oh my God, you and me, we're twins. Cool. All right. Well, Moni, I think we've done well. Let's sign ourselves on out.
We got a smiley face from Kevin as well. So hi, smiley's back from our side as well.
Kevin, I emailed you, buddy. I emailed you back, and hopefully tomorrow we'll be okay. Same time around 6 or 6:30.
Oh, well, there you go. Perfect. Well, thank you to our viewers and our commenters and for engaging and enjoying this deep dive with us because it's really fun and it's more fun with you guys. So we'll catch you next week for the Godhead series and going into the gates through the trigrams and for all the fun stuff we have planned because we have a ridiculous amount of shows just endlessly planned. So we'll be here as long as you guys are here and we'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Goodbye, everyone. Much love indeed.